We need to raise the standard and continue to raise the standard from the ground up.
Your past conditioning, your beliefs, you need to dump that and unlearn it and make room and opportunity for new stuff to come in.
If you're feeling that feeling at all within your gut, you need to go with it.
You have to have those people on your team who are willing to accept the change, because change is frustrating. All right, everybody, welcome to episode 32 of the Apps and Asphalt podcast. Today with me, I have two special guests. First and foremost, Mr. Nate Dogg. If you guys haven't received a phone call from this good-looking man, I don't know what you guys have done. That means you guys haven't started a Spot On Site free trial yet. But right. Nate has been with us. He's been a huge part with Spot On Site, helped us out with MPP. So, you know, he's a big part of what we do over there for SOS. So glad to have you on the podcast. And then we have our brother from another mother who we haven't met actually in person yet, but you just tell, man. So Mr. Matt Greene with Top Quality Asphalt down in Florida. Appreciate you having us on or coming on a Saturday morning, man. It means a lot.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for you guys letting us be on the podcast. It's a privilege.
It's going to be awesome. I know, Dave or Nate and I talk all the time on how, like, there's certain guys that we talk to or we connect with that we're like, oh, man, if we lived any closer, we'd be with them, you know, Saturday nights having a couple beers or, you know, just good, solid relationships that are built even, you know, thousands of miles away, and you're definitely one of them, man. We talk about you a lot, and dude, and what you guys did for us and doing this banner here in the background at the Spot On Site app and the Apps and Asphalt podcast banner, I mean, that's incredible. So we appreciate it, man. It means a lot.
No, yeah. We were excited to do it.
So what I want to do is dive in a little bit, tell everybody kind of how you got started in the industry, tell us a little bit about Top Quality, what kind of services you run, and give us the whole background of you and your company.
Cool. Well, how I got into the industry was right out of high school. I played football in high school and college, small D3 school up in Wisconsin, and got out, started coaching and teaching. And I coached and taught for 7 years, 4 different schools in 3 different states. So I was kind of on that journey, and then had a life change at the end of that season, and really was just looking to get into something different. I called a couple different people, my uncle, namely one of them, and said, hey, you know, by the end of the season, I'm just ready to make a change. I was just throwing stuff out there to different people. I just kind of been it was just kind of a rat race. And so I was ready for a change. A couple weeks later, my uncle called me back and said, hey, I'm at this company. They're looking to hire a project manager, but they want to hire a guy that's got a college education, you know, clean cut, all that, but they don't want him to have any experience in the site work industry, which wasn't a problem. You know, I'd done framing growing up. You know, my grandfather owned a carpet business for 30 years. I'd laid carpet. I'd done stucco, brick, you name it. You know, growing up, you know, you do all these side jobs and things. So I was used to working with my hands. That wasn't a big deal. But this was going to be an office job, you know, as a project manager. And of course, I'd never really ran heavy equipment or anything like that. So I was kind of intimidated. Did a phone interview with Tommy, which ended up being my mentor and, you know, a good friend of mine that I still, you know, draw resources from today. Had a good interview. We played in the playoffs. We won the first round. The next round we win, but we're all the way up in Atlanta, Georgia. And we lose, I'm sorry. Kicker misses the extra point. We lose. So I turn around and drive from Atlanta, Georgia, down to Tallahassee, spend, you know, a couple hours sleeping, and then leave Tallahassee and drive to Orlando area. This, you know, the area that I grew up. I grew up in this area. So come down, do the interview. To be honest with you, I think I slept the whole time. I was exhausted from the drive, you know, all of it. I was exhausted, but they were happy. I was happy, and they hired me on the spot. I went up, talked to, my coach that I had worked for. I'd actually worked for him at 2 different schools in 3 years. And I just told coach, I was like, hey, I need to make a change. And he was up behind me 100% and made the change, moved down here, took the job, worked there for 10 years at that company, had a good run. The first 3 years I was a project manager. They brought me in and, sat me down after that and was like, we want you to, be the vice president of construction.
Yeah.
So that really didn't change my day to day. My day to day was still, project managing. We were, running a lot of projects. I would probably juggle 20, 25 projects at a time. Now, not all of them were big. Some of them were small commercial jobs like 7-Elevens, things like that. And then, my last 3 years there, I had never done sales. I'd always been in production. Production and sales are 2 different things. So the last 3 years I got into sales, which that really helped me, coming, to this company. So I had, 2 family friends on my wife's side that were, again, I was in that place where I wanted to make another change. And those guys, kind of fell in place. I come here as a partner of the company, and that's where I've been now for almost 9 years.
Wow. So you went from, that's crazy that you were coaching and teaching before, and you were fresh into the industry. Well, fresh into construction, I would say, and then, you had a little bit of experience, like you said earlier, but for the most part, it was Greene.
Yeah. Matt Greene.
No pun intended.
Yeah, exactly.
No pun intended. Dude, that's so cool, man.
Luckily, I was in my mid 20s. You know what I mean? So It was, I was about 25, 26. So it wasn't a terrible deal. I was able to make that change, and the Lord's blessed. We've been rolling.
That's awesome, man. So how many crews you guys got down there, and who's like your bread and butter customer?
Crew wise, we have one crew that I dedicate just to striping, and then they seal coat as well. And we've been doing beefing that revenue up a little bit. We've got 2 full paving crews, and then we always keep like some miscellaneous guys. The biggest thing that we always want to do is deliver, and it's kind of it's like controlled chaos, really, because you're supposed to be here. Somebody calls, they're not ready. And then we always, like I said, the Lord's blessed us with a lot of work. So we've always been able to just change, move, and adapt. And, we run anywhere from 30 to 35 guys. Wow. So, but we're 2 full paving crews.
Which is crazy. I mean, there is a ton of logistics that go on in paving. I think that's what was, when kind of a little background for everybody, how we first met was you just called to inquire about spot on site a little bit. And sure enough, I look at my phone, and we've been on the phone for like an hour and a half just talking about, all the same problems and stuff that we deal with. We think the exact same with how we run, our companies. And so that's why we really hit it off. But, controlled chaos is a good way of putting it. I mean, even Nate's not really into much into like the NPP side. He still helps out, but you've seen it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What's like your perspective from the outside of being an outsider looking in?
I mean, honestly, it's kind of like what we talked about this morning. I was telling Hayden, I said, plan A is just kind of to get you going. He's like, what is plan A even for? And I said, it's just kind of get you going. And I said, and by the end of it all, on any job, you could be on plan F. It's like what happened to A, B, C, D, E is like, well, we just kept rolling. We had to pivot and make some different moves, and now we got some other things going on. So, yeah, it's controlled chaos is a great way to kind of coin that, because you can always expect the chaos to come along with the job. And I see sometimes you guys are out there, and I always ask like, hey, how's that job going, or things like that. And I don't think I've ever heard of a job just such a smooth job,
Dude.
It's always something going on. Hayden's going in a million different directions, and it's a lot, but it takes special people to be in those positions, and it also, even you being part of this today, it's the relationships, to be able to relate, and like you said, Hayden being able to talk to you about everything that's going on. I think that kind of shows that throughout the industry, you can expect some controlled chaos and
Yeah.
in some way or another.
It's peaceful to know you're not alone. Go ahead.
How I found Spot on Site was, there's not a lot out there for contractors to consume. When I was coaching and teaching, we had all these coaches clinics, and you could go, find out how these guys are blocking this and blocking that, and you can go hear Coach Bowden speak. You can hear, Nick Saban. There's just not a lot out there for contractors. So, I'm watching the Stanleys, of course. They've got a lot of good content, and that's where I saw you, Hayden. Was they were at World of Asphalt,
Yep.
and I seen you at their booth, and then he kind of like went by and talked to you for a brief second. Then I was like, man, I had another app that we were using that I told you about,
Yep.
and it just didn't, it didn't do what we needed it to do, and I'd had it for a number of years. So, I finally, shoot, man, that was probably still during COVID or something that I'd seen that, and so it took me a couple years to, hey, let's just do it, and then, hey, we jumped right into it. First job I looked at was Spot on Site. We won just like that. And we've been really successful with it. I know we're over 100, projects, and we're over $1 million in just using that app.
That's awesome, man, dude. I mean, that's what it's all about. That's what Nate told me about too. On I think you guys talked earlier this week. He's like, dude, listen to this. So, I mean, those stories is why we're like, let's get as much let's get it all out to as many contractors as we can, because there's a lot of guys that need it, man. I mean, I remember what you were doing and what you sent me, which was an awesome presentation in itself. But what you showed me was, I was like, dude, we can cut out all that office work like in seconds, that it could be done for you. So, if anything, and this isn't all just about Spot on Site, this podcast, for you guys who are listening, but I'm glad we're able to provide value, and same thing for us, man. Like how much you guys push us and refer us to other customers. It means the whole world, and that's what I think this industry is moving towards, is a lot more of guys helping each other out instead of the cutthroat, hold on to your trade secrets and all that. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Friday I got a phone call. I think it's about a 280,000 square foot seal coat project. So we put it all together. Of course, it's like we do. And then, we even go into detail. I assume we have the project. So we have a little schedule thing that we put. And so I sent it to the customer. Of course, he called me right back. Hey, man, I'd like you to come back out. Met with him. Said, we'll meet. I think this last Monday, they were going to meet. He called me and he said, I'm just going to tell you, you weren't the cheapest person, but because of the presentation, and then, what you guys did with the scheduling and all that, you've got the project. So I got to meet with them Monday and sign everything. But we've had 2 or 3 of those like that where, it just wraps it together. I know this is a different podcast. We're talking about different things, but I've tried to push this to other people because I know what time it saves me, because, I've got to, as the, one of the owners here of the company, I still have to sell work. But that clips about 2 hours off my day every day, not coming back, load pictures into a Word document, typing out stuff, saving it into a PDF and sending it out. And so, I encourage anybody that's listening to this, I don't get anything from it, and I don't want anything from it, but, you really need to check this app out.
I appreciate it, man.
It's all about leveraging your time.
Yep.
I mean, with you being an owner, how time is money, and, it's not just the app, it's everything that you're doing from the time you start your day. If you can shave some time off in any aspect, I think that goes a long way. So, leveraging your time is a huge skill, and, having something like that to be able to help in that, it goes a long way for sure.
I want to get your take. So you've talked to the guys that are like owner operators. We have a lot of guys, and then you also got guys like Matt who have 35, guys on their crews.
Mm-hmm.
what's like the biggest difference you noticed? Where are some like the big differences that you noticed between him?
Well, I mean, if you're talking about owner operators, I think that they're, when they leverage time with that, I mean, it's one of those things that, they're able to do a lot of their jobs a little bit more accurately. They're able to give those times back. And then for Matt, I think one of the big things for him, I mean, he just touched on it. He said, even though he's an owner, he still has to sell work. Having something like that, obviously adds a visual appeal and shows the outside customers, what they're about and how they're able to, use software to kind of present themselves. It just goes a long way, and ultimately I think when you see it and across the board for owner operators and then also, guys that are, owners and they're, got their crews and things like that, I think it just helps everything run more efficiently, from start to finish. I mean, you're able to communicate everything from top to bottom, there's nothing left out. You get full transparency, not only amongst your crews and your team and the owners and, everybody involved, but you get full transparency all across, even to your customers. So having to be, one of those people in the positions like Matt is, it's one of those things that it's really important for him to have all of that. And, I think that kind of embodies it in a nutshell like that for those guys. So.
Yeah. When I first got here, we weren't, I don't consider us a big company, but, it was me, Dwayne running the field and, say 6 other guys. If I would have had this back then, it would have been such a huge deal because I was still doing, Hayden, what I sent you. So I was doing 6 or 7 phone calls a day plus whoever else called my phone because I didn't have a secretary. So all the phone calls were going to me. And we had, I think there was 13 different phone numbers out there that were associated with this business when they bought it. So we had 1-800-ASPHALT plus our phone number plus my phone number. I grew up in this, in this county, in this city, so I know a ton of people. So that phone just never stopped, which was a blessing.
Yeah.
So then I'm getting on the site, I got spray can, I got, pencil, you're measuring, my handwriting isn't the best sometimes. And so I called my mentor and said, hey man, I can't stay ahead of this. I'm doing like 6 or 7, calls a day. And I'm going home at night, basically just, breezing through with the girls and my wife and then turning around and boom, they're all in bed. It's 10 o'clock. So from 10 to midnight, I'm working, sleeping for 3 or 4 hours and then getting back up. That would have saved me, I don't know how much time.
Would it be fair to say, Matt, that you're actually giving time back to certain aspects of your life that prior to Spot on Site, having something that streamlines everything that you weren't able to have that time? Is that a fair statement, would you think?
Very fair. I'm able to go out now and, hey man, how's it going? How you guys doing? I'm able to beef up our social media by taking videos and pictures, and I'm sure you guys have seen that.
Oh, yeah.
So it's helped me in those areas, big time for us to grow our brand and grow our business. And like I said, the other nice thing is, I don't have any other experience to draw off except for mine. So, when I call Hayden, he answers the phone. When I call Nate, he answers the phone. So I was out there measuring a job, which we got that job, Nate.
Nice work.
Measuring the job. And I called Nate. I'm like, hey, man, the app didn't work yesterday. It's not working today. And then what really made me call you was I was able to pull up the app and get, the template rolling for the other project. So I had to old school it. I took the pictures and then I dumped it into, the Spot on Site frame because we have a PDF, editor. So I was able to put all that stuff in there, and I'm like, no, I'm not doing this again. No. So whenever I got to the other job site, I called Nate. I was like, hey, he was stuck in traffic. So he's like, hey man, I got plenty of time. We can talk this out. So it was two little clicks, and we were rolling.
Back to it.
It was just something in the settings. We got him rolling quick. So.
Yeah, and that's been interesting being in software, is like all the weird random stuff that just happens, and the updates, the regression and all that. So going back towards, the paving company, what do you guys, what do you think makes Top Quality stand out from everybody else in your area, and kind of what's your demographic in terms of like competition? Is it a lot of smaller guys, or?
There's some guys bigger than us that have like plants that are kind of, I say bigger than us as far as revenue, because they do a lot of like county annuals and city annuals. Here, you have to have a plant to even bid those projects.
Makes sense.
So it's kind of a blessing though. Kind of keeps them in their world. We kind of have a niche, where we're at and what we do. A lot of people don't really want to do, the HOA work, the overlays, the maintenance. We kind of fell into a total asphalt maintenance company. So we'll go out, we'll grind your sidewalks, or we'll rip it out and give you a 500 foot of sidewalk. Same thing with the curbing or asphalt base work, and we've jumped in a couple site jobs just because customers have said, we want to deal with you. I don't want to do. I'm like, we don't do site work. I'm going to have to get a team of guys to do X. They're like, I don't care. Just do what you got to do. We want to deal with you guys, and all of our stuff's relationships.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, so we build that relationship with the customer. There's a trust there. We just dealt with a customer where I went out and met with him. He said, I only have X to do. I measured it. I called him back. I was like, dude, we can do twice this much for this money. He's like, oh, wow. So that's the trust that we have with our customers. And I really enjoy that, because it really just makes me like, an order taker almost. You get the phone call, you come out, and after that it's, hey, I'll get you the bid, and give me like a day or so, I'll get you the bid. They're like, that's fine, but when can you do this? So we've grown that over the last 9 years. It comes from where we were at before. We took that with us, and we just and the other thing is, you always got to do something a little extra for the customer.
Yeah.
To make them happy. There's going to be a couple things here or there, whether it's going a little bit further or whatever, and we do those things. Tommy taught me that way back, and those kind of things really just take you to that next level. We're not perfect. We have go backs. I mean, we have stuff where we're like super high in production and we're getting this done, and then I turn around and I'm like, man, we got more go back stuff than we got. It's not anything terrible. We got 3 car stops to put in. We didn't put the handicap sign on. We ordered a sign and it didn't come in, and now we got to go back and put it on. But it irritates me. You know what I mean? It's just, but we've been super blessed.
Dude, 1,000,000%. And I want to jump into like the punch list stuff, because the punch list stuff is like, it is irritating. Like I find my blood pressure even rising when I'm in there trying to schedule jobs. Sorry, I keep blocking your face.
No, you're good.
Trying to schedule jobs, and here comes an estimator and strolling along, say, hey man, my customer said that there's seal coat on like the corner of this garage. I'm like, dude, but at the same time, I always try to stop, take a breath, because there's opportunity in what's perceived as negative, right? So when you're talking about building trust, if you go and take care of punch list items quick and within reasonable time period of when your customer expects it, you are 99% different than the other contractors, because the other contractors drag it out as far as they can. I mean, we're guilty of it too. We've been in spots where we're like, you know what, man, like, with how the year started, with how much time we lost, we're all about pushing revenue. We can't be, because it's all costed against if we go send guys out. So I'm sure you can relate to that. But I truly believe there is opportunity in that. You just gotta almost eat the frog and just get it done. But there's nothing worse.
Expect the unexpected.
Expect the unexpected.
How you can sum up any job, right?
What I notice in this business, man, is you cannot predict what's going to happen. I was telling my barber I was getting a haircut. So this is in the past 3 weeks. One of our subcontractors backed in and smashed a light pole. Another one accidentally backed in and backed into his mill into our customer's brand new truck. Then we had another subcontractor that we used he went and did a final walk through our estimator, and there's beer cans all over this elementary school. I mean, then we'd put in these brand new speed bumps, and these high schoolers went and spray painted a whole bunch of dicks all over it. So this was literally within the past, couple of weeks, and there's these gals that just joined our team, and I just started to laugh, and I said, you know what? There's only so much you can control in this business. A lot of it's the uncontrollables, and sometimes you just got to laugh it off, man, because you can't predict it.
No, that's the truth, and it's all about how you react.
Yeah.
So I notice if I react poorly, then the rest of the team will. And usually I'm kind of a amped, high, production guy. So sometimes I just gotta, okay, man, we'll fix it. When I'm by myself in my vehicle, then I can kind of go crazy on whatever. Yeah, I called Dwayne back. Hey, this is what we got to do. We got to get this stuff done. We got to get paid. So that's the bottom line. Keep that revenue coming in, and like you said, eat the frog and keep rolling.
Yeah, that I think that's a great kind of lesson for leaders or any business owners is how you handle adversity, and your emotional control on it. Haven't been perfect at it myself, but for the most part, I try to be emotionless when things seem chaotic, because like you said, they will either feed into it, or they, get nervous about how you respond, and puts them on edge. And so there's a lot of control you have to do emotionally as a leader in order to maintain kind of a steady playing field for everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you got to, because I was listening to one of you guys' podcasts, and Zach was the one that said he even knows when he wakes up in the morning, hey, I've got this, and so my mentor always told me, when you walk in that door, you got to leave all that stuff outside. Yeah. Don't bring it in, and that it's hard. It's super hard, because you don't really want to bring that, that attitude or that haze into the office. And it's hard to kind of be on all the time and be that guy, but you got to.
Yeah, they say emotion is the motor to behavior, right? So that's a good point. Like Hayden's saying, he tries to stay emotionless, and, you have to be dialed in, to the situation to do that. And instead of letting the situation take you over in those moments when there's, all kinds of punch list items or whatever going wrong. I see it. I'm around Hayden all the time in the office, and I can just tell some days he's like, I'm just going to take a deep breath. And, he does a really good job about that, man. One of the things I respect about him is for him, being so young. I mean, he's not young like that, but, he's really got a controlled essence about him, and some of the things that he does. So he's a good leader. He's a great mentor, and he does a really good job with these guys, staying, keeping them motivated and not letting those emotions get so far that the energy is getting out to everybody else, and they're like starting to feed off of it, and that kind of thing. So it starts with him, and I think he knows that, and he does a great job with everybody. So keep it up, bro.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, man. Means a lot. What have you noticed, during the heart of the season is like the biggest challenge for you guys? Or have you noticed, as the season goes on in different time periods, that your crews, your guys, momentum, everything kind of varies?
Yeah, here we're, we start January 2nd and we go till December 22nd every year. So we really don't have a season, but we do have things that I notice is in the beginning of the year, things might be just a tick slower because you got people coming off the holidays. So maybe the contracts don't come in. But I mean, we try to, focus on that in the fourth quarter, getting everything ready for the first quarter. The other thing I notice is in the summertime, when the guys, their kids are, home, and there's no school, you can tell there's a different vibe to the guys. And then when the kids go back to school like now, then you can feel like a little uptick. Guys kind of get into the flow a little bit more. And then, from here on, we've got, here till December 22nd to get a lot of stuff done. So from August to December, it kind of feels like what you guys go through in your seasons, because a lot of people are going, hey, I didn't spend any money in the front end of the year, but I've got this money, and if I don't use it, I'm gonna lose it. So we end up, really just cramming a bunch of stuff in between October, November, and December.
That makes sense.
Trying to get towards the end of the year, trying to get everything closed out, and that's interesting with school starting. Summer, summer break versus school season. I mean, you just took. Nate's got his first one going into kindergarten this year, so it's been a crazy week for him.
Yeah, this week has been definitely. There's been some controlled chaos in in the house for sure, man. It's been a wild ride, but I'm thankful for it for sure. So
yeah, and I think it's probably because when the kids are home from school, there's more like logistics that go into it, make sure somebody's got them entertained, and you got somebody to watch them all day versus dropping them off at school and having a set kind of schedule to pick them up or being able to coordinate that. So I totally understand.
Yeah, to touch base on what you were just talking about, Matt, you were talking about how, like here we have seasons that we're trying to obviously, framework in and, fit it in, that type of thing. And, you were talking about people spending money. You guys don't have a season essentially because you guys run all year, but you guys have like budget seasons because you're like, oh, we didn't spend it in the first half. Now we got to spend it. So they're pushing all that work off on you guys on the second half. So, in essence, that's what you have. You have kind of a budget season. It's like everyone's going to be spending money at the end of the year, so let's get ready, that type of thing. So,
yeah, and really knowing like when your customers are going through that, like when our shift in sales really, or our sales shift kind of changes right around October, like when you're talking about. And that is what we focus on. We change our marketing campaigns, our email campaigns to, hey, we are here. We're going to help you guys out with budget planning. We can create your 5-year plans. So what we do is we try to, establish trust, number one, because I don't think any property manager or anybody who manages any kind of real estate likes doing budgets, especially for boring asphalt and concrete. So if that's one less thing that they can do, that's huge. But also we can get them a multi-year plan, which is going to hopefully lock in business, for the next couple of years. I think we've had maybe 2 customers out of, our biggest and best ones that we've done these multi-year plans for, because they do take a lot of time. But I think we've maybe had 2 that hasn't paid off for us, but that extra effort that you talk about that you guys really put in there goes quite a long ways when it just comes to the sales part of it.
Yeah. And we made a change too with the way we ran the office. We used to do it old school where, you get the call, you go out, you meet the customer, you develop the scope, you bid it, you sell it, you collect it. And, our schedule, we were running anywhere from, say 4 to 6 weeks out, something like that. And then I changed it, instead of our salesman being / superintendent, salesman, whatever you want to call it. I just said, hey guys, you're going to start at this time and end at this time. You're not going to the yard. We're going to let these guys deal with it. I'll deal with the project management side of it. And then we went 10 to 12 weeks, just like that. And it was just because of letting those guys really do what they do best. They don't need to be out there directing and doing and getting in Dwayne and Brandon's way. So that was another huge thing that we did that changed, kind of the flow of the company.
Yeah, and this business is easy to get sucked into, to doing that, especially if you're an estimator. You can be, estimator, project manager is kind of what we used to call our guys. And there are times where, estimators got to be out on these jobs because we're just spread so thin. We don't got any more bodies and people to help out. But, these guys are hired to go sell. sell work. That's what they should be doing. So their whole goal is to be sending out as many proposals as possible. And, you know, your superintendents, your project managers, your foremen, their goal is producing all of it. That's what they're hired for. So, you know, if you can get to a place where you can start really segregating these roles and have everyone lean into what they were hired to do, that's going to make things a lot more efficient, which, like you said, you guys bumped up, you know, from 10 to 12 weeks by just making the small, almost setting like standards and boundaries, if you will, of what they should be doing, what they shouldn't be doing.
Job expectation, that kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah, because that's how we'd always done it. You know what I mean? And you know, when I got here, we had to change a bunch of stuff. You know, there was things here. You know, Mike and Scott bought the company, made me a partner, and I knew how we should be doing it versus the way it was being done. And I had a great education working for Tommy. To me, Tommy's like the Nick Saban of, you know, site work and asphalt in the state of Florida. So I had him, a guy named Ron Miller, you know, Dwayne was there, Lonnie Roberts. I mean, I had all these guys. I was at the right place at the right time, being able to learn from these guys. And man, you know, so, and in my other experience of coaching, you're on other staffs and you're moving around to these different schools. That was a huge, you know, tool that I could bring with me. And I was like, yeah, this is what we need to do. We need to flush this and put this in, you know, and install that. And it's taken some time. I mean, it wasn't overnight, you know, and we're, like I said, in February, we're going into year 9. So but it's really worked.
That's awesome, man. What would you say has been like we'll do two of the biggest challenges that you've noticed specifically with our industry and running a business inside of it?
Manpower obviously is one. You know what I mean? It's that the workforce has changed from, you know, when I was growing up. You know, I was happy to have a job. I was happy to go to work. You know, every place I worked, I really wanted to do a really good job for the people that I was working for, and then I wanted to move up. I never wanted to be at that one level. And so I see a lot of that not being what it was. You know, 100%. I'm not trying to be the get off my porch guy, but you know, you know what I'm saying? You know, you know, when I was so and so, you know,
back in the day,
when it was raining,
I had to go to work in 6 feet of snow.
That's been different. And then what we've had to deal with, you know, that I've never dealt with before is like a limited supply of materials. You know, so coming out of, you know, in COVID, we went up. You know, we didn't, you know, the governor here, thank God, he didn't stop anything. So we kept going. I think we went up like 30% from the year before.
Wow. Yeah, COVID was our best year too, man.
Yeah, we were blessed. We were rolling, and everybody had a good attitude. Things were good. Coming out of that is when, you know, the president changed some of the labor rates and stuff like that. And then the prices of material was changing, hauling was changing. I mean, these numbers were numbers I've never seen, and I've been doing it almost 20 years.
Wow.
You know, so I'm calling my mentor. I'm talking to our, you know, the business partners, and you know, it's kind of scary. I mean, that's been the other big thing is, you know, and calling the plants and trying to make sure that, you know, they have aggregate, they got enough liquid. Hey, you know, we got a job over here. It's 400 ton. You know, I can't afford for you to only give me 100 ton. You know, I need you to be able to give us, you know, 400 ton. And I've heard you guys' podcast where you guys went through that, and you're trying to explain to the customer. And that was really exhausting, to be honest with you, because there's stuff in construction that you know you're going to have to deal with. You're going to have to deal with guys being late or people not showing up or cars in the way. That's just part of it. If you complain about that, then it's just, you know, it's going to be tough luck.
That's in the job description.
Part about not. Yeah, it's in the job description. It's like crying. It's like, being upset if your kindergartner's crying. Dave, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hey, he didn't cry, not one day. maybe his little brother, but not Cambo. He was ready to roll. He actually told my wife not to step off when we were talking about it. She's getting super emotional. He said, "Mom, you're being a crybaby."
Yeah.
It was so funny. He was like, "I'm ready to go. I'm a big boy, but." He's not going to be one of those guys that doesn't take pride in his work. I must send him to work over there at Top Quality for a summer with you guys when he's older.
Yeah, moved to Florida. But I mean, that was the other thing that we were dealing with was the shortages. So we were having to educate the customer on that up front. Now that's helped us be a better company because now we communicate with the customer and we're transparent with schedule, manpower, availability of materials. Because I don't want them to get the call, Monday morning at 7:30. Hey, we're not going to be there.
Yeah.
They've moved cars already. They've done all this prep. You you just don't want to do that. I mean, you can do it once, but that's it. So that's where we've those are the two things that I've really noticed over the last say 2 to 3 years. It's been kind of something for us to juggle.
Yeah, and then. I would say it has been a lot of material stuff, less for us this year on getting material. But for instance, now the problem that we have is all of our plants around us aren't accepting millings anymore because they're all completely full. There's not enough room for them to dump any more millings, so they're backed up. So they have to do like a couple week breaks, then we got to pivot, and then sometimes you got to pay for even clean millings for dump fees and stuff like that. So it is stuff that you can't predict it, but there are a certain handful of things that you just expect. That's not a if, it's a when, and I can totally relate to that.
Yeah,
you gonna say something?
I was just saying sometimes you throw one thing off, it goes back to the logistics side of things, and it can become a huge log jam, like you said, you've got people moving cars and stuff like that. One thing goes wrong and, you definitely got to pivot quickly in this business because you still have to keep it going. So
being a family man, you got wife, you got kids. We started asking this question with Brandon Leone, and I thought it was a pretty cool question because I like getting everyone's perspective, but you have your wife and kids. You're obviously working a lot of hours just for this business in general. I was going to say during busy season, but you guys are always, during busy season. How have you guys as a family been able to make it work? Making sure you're still with spending time with your kids and with your family as well and your wife. How have you guys been able to make it work in this industry?
Well, when I moved back here, I met Stephanie at Lifestyles. You said you worked at Lifestyles. There was a Lifestyles Family Fitness here in Winter Haven. So that's where I met Stephanie. It's hard to believe now that I actually used to work out. But, yeah, so I met her at the gym. And then, she bought in. She bought in then, with the construction side of what we were doing. Okay. She understood. And, we were trying to get pregnant with Avery at the time. And, Avery's in 5th grade now. And I honestly don't know how it happened. I really don't. I mean, because the other company I was working at, we were working up at Universal. We were doing Harry Potter and Transformers at the same time. And we had just gotten off of doing Legoland, here in town. And we were doing the water park, and then we were doing, SeaWorld 2013. I was running all those jobs. So it was, and then, the Harry Potter and Transformers were 24/7. And then like what you were saying, I mean, I'm the PM, VP, but you're still having to juggle all these other things with the crews and be there and kind of make, A to Z meet. Stephanie really bought into that, and I just told her, I was like, the position I had there and the position I have here, you got to be the CEO of the house, so, she does all that and handles it. I support her. It's not like I'm not there, but when we first got here, that was tough because, Avery was 3. So the first 3 years, I really got a lot of good time with her because I moved into sales at the very end of my time at the company there, at the other company. So I got a lot of time with Avery. I was off at 5. I could go do whatever. I mean, I wasn't working weekends, nights. I mean, it was super nice. Well, get here and it's kind of flipped back over again. So, and I just, like I said, she bought in. This is what it was. And I know some of that time I can never get back with the girls, but luckily we're back to the good side of things again.
Yeah.
The last couple of years, to where I'm not doing all that crazy staying up at night, bidding jobs and being at the office from 5 o'clock in the morning till 6, 7 o'clock at night, and then taking an hour to get home. And so yeah, that's been the biggest thing is Stephanie's bought into what we're doing, and without her, none of this works. Like this company doesn't go. I mean, these people don't know her, they don't see her, but with all the stuff that she does at the house, I'm amazed. I mean, I really am. And she teaches full time, so it's not like she's a stay-at-home mom. I mean, she would really like that, but we just can't roll that way. So that she teaches. She's been teaching for I think 17 years.
Oh wow,
like that.
been doing it for a while.
So at the same school. Now we are lucky, that like you say, it takes a village to raise a family. The girls are super close with her parents.
Nice.
So they go to, we call them Lulu and Boo. So they go to Lulu and Boo's a lot, hang out. Donna will go pick them up from school. Luckily, the office is here, Donna's house is here, and school's there within, a couple miles of each other. So it just makes it super easy. And I like it, though. I like when our kids go hang out with, her parents and stuff. Growing up, I didn't kind of come from a family like that, come from a broken home, didn't know who my dad was and things like that. My mom got married, had a stepdad, didn't have a really great relationship. So when I can flip the script on that, and our kids have great relationships with us, and then they have them with her parents. It just just makes it so much better.
You think your upbringing, like you just talked about, made you has totally transformed the dad that you are today?
Yeah. I mean, it really has, because there's a lot of times where, you want to react to things, and then, like, hey, we don't need to react that way. And then the girls, they're a lot, I don't know, they're better than I was as a kid. I probably needed a lot of spankings and things.
Deserved
Avery and Piper are just smarter. Piper's in 2nd grade. She was in here yesterday, helping me set some of this stuff up, and the light, and she knew, she just knew things that I would never know at that age, and you're able just to talk to them, and that, going back to kind of like your conversation with Brandon, I think communication's the key, in business, but also, with your spouse. So I communicated that to Stephanie. There's been times where I've, tucked the girls in at night and, said, hey, I'm not going to see you tomorrow. I've got to go out of town. I'm going to come back, but I love you. I'm proud of what you're doing, and tell them why Dad's got to work. We have the things that we have because, it takes time for me to go do those things. I know it's taking time from you, but this is what we're up against. And I think if you tell them that, you're going to feel better. I don't know if, a 5th grader and a 2nd grader understand what you're trying to get across to them, but I would hope over time as they got older, they will.
Oh yeah. It'll be a time thing for sure. They'll look back, and I mean, they'll be able to look back, and you're setting an example, for your kids, and they're going to say, they'll understand, Dad, we know why you went off, and we know why you were working. You were able to give us a lot of opportunity, maybe opportunities that you didn't have. I can relate to a lot of what you're saying, Matt. My mom was a single mother, and, she raised 4 kids by herself, and, my dad wasn't really around much. I don't have a lot of, I think I remember one Christmas with them, and, they weren't together. And so I think, who you are throughout your life, whether it's your career or anything you got going on. I mean, you take inner vows, even as a child. I think that they kind of come to light when you're older, and, whether it's, I'm going to be a different dad than my dad was, that type of thing. So, I can relate, man, to where you're at and what you're saying with that. It's, the ones that are insightful enough to, change that cycle are the ones that, change the world in a small way. So, kudos to you, and, shout out to your wife, Stephanie, for you guys handling it like that, and, holding it down with the family for Top Quality Asphalt out there for you guys, man. It's awesome, dude. It's cool to hear your story, and, it's great. I love to hear it. So,
yeah, and your spouse, your kids, they're all in it with you. Like you said, whether anybody knows their names or not, that's why I tell Megan is like, you take care of the second half of life. Like there's the work, which is a majority of our lives, and we got just the other stuff, just the groceries, the laundry, the cleaning, just getting ready to go do that first part of life. And without your significant other, I mean, it's in having somebody who supports that, you could be in a world of hurt, and you could end up, running your marriage into the ground. And it's not for everybody, but as long as you set the expectations, say, okay, you know what, here's what we got coming up. You're not going to see me as much. I got to do this. And, Meg and I try to communicate that to each other. So that way expectations are set, and we know what season we're going to be going in through, whether it's going to be a lighter season for us or a heavier season. So for sure.
The other thing I've learned is just to ask Stephanie, like, what do you need me to do? You know what I mean? And a lot of times when, high achiever people like you guys or myself, we don't want to tell anybody what we need. We're you know what, I don't want to bother them. I'm just going to do it myself. Not because you're trying to prove a point. It's just, I don't want to bother them, So a lot of times I'd say, Steph, what do you need me to do? Oh, can you go get the bedrooms ready? Can you go get, toothbrushes, this to go pick up the living room, blah, 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 all the things that I got to get done. They're just little things, but it saves her, 10 minutes, that's a huge thing, it's just asking what they need.
Simple question. It is.
Yep.
And I think, if you have good employees too, that can almost flip the script and help you out as well and say, hey, I got all this done. What can I help you with? That'll allow you to slowly as a leader start, dishing off more and more responsibility. But sometimes it's even hard to think of what you need help with because you've been the only one that's, held on to it for so long.
But I learned that from Tommy because, back then Tommy and those guys didn't have day-to-day responsibilities like I do, but they did always come in the office and sit down and, hey man, how you doing? Want to know about you and really cared, and then said the same thing. Hey, what can I do for you? Is there anything I can do? A little bit, or what do you got going? And so I feel if you do that, a lot of times, especially males, because we got 4 guys in the office and 1 secretary, so guys, they kind of lead more or they learn more by what they see than maybe what they're being told. So if you do those things, you take out the trash, you vacuum, then all of a sudden the next time you're not the one doing it, they're doing it, So yeah, I agree.
Lead by action, yeah, because we know, and our wives know that we don't listen very well. So, so I've been told.
Yeah, I don't know. My wife was saying something to me about something. I didn't quite get it. But. Yeah, I was gonna touch again. You have girls, right, Matt? You have daughters.
Yeah, 2 girls.
Yeah, so I've got 2 boys, man, and it's the complete opposite of everything you just said. It's get up in the morning and jump off couches and run after the dogs and jump straight off the deck and do an army roll into the swimming pool, catch all the frogs in the yard.
Into the house.
Yeah, it's funny to see the differences in raising, girls versus boys. So
the personality differences.
Yeah, it's fun, but it's never a dull moment, that's for sure.
What's the next 5 to 10 years look like for you, man? You and Top Quality.
I really want us to, hit that next gear. I mean, we've taken this company in 9 years, and like the first year we had it, we did, I want to say it was like 35% more than he did the year before.
Nice.
And then we've gained 10% every year since then. We really need to get, like an inside takeoff guy. We probably need to get, a business development person, our face type person. It's just really hard for me to do it, or hire another sales guy and I can do it. We probably need to start our own podcast here. There's not a lot of stuff here in Florida. Maybe team up with another guy that's down here. Do those type of things to really set us up, for that next 5 to 10 years, where we can grow our brand. And, we want to be like the Stanleys and some of these other guys. It's not about being big. It's just about being the company that everybody knows that's going to go out there to do it the right way. If you don't, you go back and fix it. Your equipment's nice. You treat people the right way, and you attract the right type of team members that want to come in and be at your company.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
no, that's a good goal, and it's cool that you guys had such consistent and I would say steady growth, as opposed to, we'll be the first to admit it. We had chaotic growth during the COVID year. I mean, it was way too much for where we should have been. So, but it's awesome that you're trying to set a new standard down there in Florida. And you're right, I don't see a lot of stuff coming out of Florida. We had another good customer down there, the paving lady, they're awesome people. I don't know if you ever met Morrow, but we'll connect you guys sometime. He's a great guy. If you haven't.
We don't compete against them. They're kind of on the other side of Orlando. Like, everybody kind of has their own area, and it's like it's not that you don't want to get out of it. It's just you get sucked into it, and you're in those areas,
Yeah.
But I was kind of in that way. You had the guy on from Birmingham, Sealcoat.
Yep.
And I kind of, when I came here, we were small, and you kind of felt like, man, I can't hire that guy. I can't, I was at a bigger, company before. I felt like I could hire anybody I wanted to. And then you come here, and so I kind of got out of that. And then we hired, my cousin David, that used to work at, a national paving company up in New York. He came in, and he was a huge asset. And then my uncle came in, and he's been doing it for 20-something years. So all of a sudden, we flipped the script. It was me by myself. And then we had a couple other sales guys in between that, they were here for a little bit and left, didn't really buy into what we were doing. And then, I get those guys into the fold because we had worked together before. And that's really what's transformed this company in the last, say, 4 years.
Yep. And this guy I listen to a lot, Alex Hormozy, he said the difference between the big companies and the little companies is the amount of A players they have. And it takes one or two A players to come in to make a huge impact in your organization. So, always be searching. That's something that will never stop. Just as always be searching for that diamond in the rough, or somebody out there who has potential. They don't have to know everything about asphalt or concrete or, paving, but if you see the potential within them, they got the spark, the heart to learn, and willingness to learn, I should say, then who knows where they can go and where they can take you as well.
Absolutely.
That's what we did. So you guys are out in Colorado, so the beer industry.
Oh yeah,
so,
we know it well.
yeah. We hired Brett to come in, and Brett had done beer sales for, I don't know, 10, 15 years or so. I mean, a good long time. And then we just taught him what we do, and it's, we're lucky to have myself, Cletus and David here. So you have 3 guys that have been trained by, our mentor. And so we do things the same way. We talk the same way, So it was easy for Brett to come in and then plug in. And, I mean, he might get to $2 million this year, first year.
Wow.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Really cool.
Holy cow.
I'm stoked for him.
That's huge.
He's really done well. He really has.
That's amazing.
Yeah, Yes, it is.
It's incredible. Well, I appreciate you you hopping on, man. We've, like I said, the relationship that we just have personally, with you is invaluable. You're an amazing customer and supporter of everything that we do. You run an amazing business, and we just can't thank you enough. And I can't wait to meet you in person finally, man. Are you what shows are you gonna try to attend this year, or are you gonna go to any of them?
I signed up for Ignite already.
Okay.
It's in December. It's here in Clearwater. You guys going to that?
I think we might have to make our way down there.
Should we go in
I
December?
think we should.
Florida's nice in
Yeah.
December.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I was looking at World of Asphalt. That's another thing you were talking about, what we need to do. That's another thing as the company that we need to do. Before, I was just like, hey, we need to sell work. We need to keep going. We need to keep grinding. Now we really need to kind of grow the brand and show people who we are and attend a lot more of those type of events.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of contractors that you can meet and partner up with that will help go to new levels. It's not always seeking out people who you think will be your customers. Sometimes even your partners can be your best customers and best assets to your company. So I totally agree, man. It's a huge way to network, and there's a lot of great guys in this industry. So
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah,
ton
yeah,
of
that'd be huge.
Okay. Well, we'll try to make it down there to Florida in December, if not sometime soon, man. But as always, we appreciate you jumping on. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy Saturday to come meet with us. And let's plan to do this again here in a couple months or even a year down the road, and talk about the growth since we last talked, man.
Absolutely.
So
Definitely.
awesome, man. Well, I'm sure we'll probably talk to you on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday sometime this upcoming week. But for everybody, thank you guys as always for listening. What we could really use your help with is giving us some ratings, some likes, some reviews, 5 stars hopefully. Help spread the word, because all we want to do is give the knowledge out and pass it forward. So if you guys could help us out with that, that would be amazing. But this is episode 32 of the Apps and Asphalt podcast with Mr. Matt Greene of Top Quality Asphalt. See you guys.